let's do it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Life Unleashed. I'm your host, Sierra Cooper, and today we have with us Paul Vato. Hi, Paul. Good morning. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me in this wonderful snowy morning in Chicago.
I know. I'm so happy to be here in Florida and not up north. So, Paul, I've known you for a little over a year now. We met at Podfest 2025. We were just at Podcast 2026. And for everybody that doesn't know Paul Vato, he is very well accomplished. He is a comedian. He is an expert in improv. You teach improv. You worked with Del Close, who was amazing, took you underneath your wing and really taught you everything you knew. And you're naturally just talented. You're naturally funny. I mean, you've got a cigar line, you've got a liquor line, you're an author, you've been in multiple commercials for multiple different companies, shows. Even though, what was it? You were in a Seth MacFarlane TV show, Ted on Peacock. So I have not seen that yet. Has that came out?
Yes, it has. As a matter of fact, I think they're already on to season 2, if I'm not mistaken, which I don't think I'm in because they haven't called me. But yes, Ted on Peacock. And Ted is based on the movies Ted. So the first question that most people ask is Mark Wahlberg in it? And no, he is not, because this is a prequel. So this takes place in the early 90s, when in the formative years of Ted and Mark Wahlberg's character, whose name I should probably know. But yeah, so it's all the little shenanigans that they get into, but the comedy's just as irreverent and hilarious as Seth MacFarlane's projects are, as the movies Ted. So, you might be, if you're easily offended, it may not be the show for you, but if you just love
Not
comedy,
me, not at all.
and we've hung out, I know. Then I mean that in a good way. I don't mean
Yes,
so
yes.
so. Yeah, it's on Peacock, and I had a small part. I'm in season 1, episode 3 of the TV show Ted.
Okay, and so tell us a little bit about you being an author, because I never specifically dove into that with you. What are you an author of? Many things, I'm sure, but explain to us what you've written, what you've done.
Well, yeah, and sometimes like author might be, or writer might be too strong of a word, because
Mm-hmm.
my best selling book is called the Kama Sutra, and it's probably for the best that you and I have never really sat down and gone over this book. Uh, I've got some great pictures of both people looking disgusted when they read it and also laughing their butt off. Now, obviously, the point is, well, no, the point is both. It could be either or. I'm just as happy if somebody reads it and I get some great photos of them just going like, "What?" Versus them laughing hysterically. I'm absolutely happy with either reaction. So it's called the Kama Sutra, and you can get it at kamasutra.com. And Kama spelled just like Kama Sutra. So it's both a parody and a pun on the the words Kama Sutra, which, as you know, is an ancient Indian text based on human sexuality, I guess. Mine is an updated version of that. So you might pick that up and kind of page through it. But it's also, if you're easily offended, you may not want to do that. Um,
It definitely makes for a lot of good jokes, I'm sure.
it really does. But if you want to know what, an angry pirate is, or a donkey punch, or a
Oh,
shocker,
wow.
it's all
That's
it's all in
interesting.
there. And I just have, I should have sent you the link first. I forgot that we were doing this morning. I had a deep dive. Uh, Google LM put together a deep dive. So, and it actually breaks it down very scientifically and explains what it really is all about. It's a 13-minute listen. And I think the podcast is just as hilarious as the actual book itself. So yeah, it's called the Kama Sutra, and again, it's a compilation of all these wonderfully erotic sex moves that will either improve
So,
improve.
so now
Yeah,
you have a podcast yourself, correct?
I have one myself, and then I'm a co-host of another one that I'm very proud of, and of course, I love being a guest on these podcasts as well. So yes, I'm the host of Paul Vato Presents. And Paul Vato Presents, I call it a comedy centric podcast or a comedian centric, a celebrity centric podcast. A lot of C's comedian, celebrity, comedy. And it really is, it started out because I wanted to let people know that I was back into the world of acting during COVID. So after COVID, I closed my cigar shops that I had inside Binion's Casino in Vegas. And I went through a divorce. And so I was like, let me get back into acting. I was at home and there was not much going on. Our businesses were closed for like 3.5 months in Las Vegas, which was
Mm-hmm.
which was nice. I'd wake up in a panic though every day, like, oh, what time do I have to get to work? Or what are the sales today? And I'd be like, oh yeah, zero, no sales. So I decided to get back into acting because I'd kind of taken a hiatus. I managed to do a movie while I was in Las Vegas. I had a small part in a movie called The Trust, and that's with Nicolas Cage and Elijah Wood, where I yell at Nicolas
I
Cage in
saw that.
Spanish.
I saw that.
Yeah, and
Yes,
that was a
very good.
great experience. I did a pilot for CBS. I forget the actual name of it, but that was also a lot of fun. So I did some work while I was in Vegas, but really, you have to live in LA, I think, or Hollywood to if you're really going to do this full time as an actor and whatnot. So I was like, you know what, let me get back into acting. And this was during the days of Clubhouse, if you were on social audio. And man, uh, they asked, why don't you have a manager or an agent? And I was like, well, I've been kind of away from the industry for about 10 years at the time. And they're like, okay, so, but I had managed to get an agent. But I used the podcast really to interview my celebrity friends. And they weren't celebrities when I met them, when we're running around Chicago doing improv in the late 90s with Del Close, who taught a lot of us to improvise. But they were friends. We've been friends for a very long time. So it was easier
So
to get a
who's some of
yes.
your favorites? So who's some of your favorites that you've interviewed, that you've sat with, that you've actually done work with? Because, Paul, ever since I met you and I just fell in love with you, you just have such a fun, caring nature about you. You get along with everybody you come in contact with and you bring the best out in them. So what would you say your top five people are that you just absolutely love to work with, that you've interviewed, that you've had spent time with?
Um, yeah. And so the people that I actually like know and did spend time with would be people like Ike Barinholtz, who's now on a show called The Studio. Sal Saperstein, shout out to Sal Saperstein.
I've seen
Uh,
it.
if you've seen the show, there's Seth, there's the lead, and then there's Ike, that's his like right hand man, and he's hilarious. He was also on the Mindy Project. He was on Eastbound and Down. He was on Mad TV. You know,
Hmm.
so
As
yeah,
for you,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So people
yeah.
like
You
Ike Barinholtz, who else? Well, I've not worked much. I don't think I've. No, you know what? I produced one of her shows 15, 20 years ago. She may have forgotten, but Wizard Finger. It was Jill Benjamin, and Jill Benjamin now is starting to get a lot of recognition. I've seen her in a few commercials, but I think I hate to say this, but I think she. I don't know. Sometimes something happens, and then you think that they still don't like you, and then they're like, oh, maybe they never even thought about it. So I should reach
yeah.
out to her. I think she got mad because I was in the bathroom with a girlfriend at one time, and I think I was at her house or something, and she didn't like that. Uh, but I ended up marrying the girl that I was, in the bathroom with, so it wasn't like it was that
Well, that's
shady.
well. Well, at least you weren't in a closet. I mean, you were in a bathroom, so there you go.
Yeah, dirty
I
things
mean, in
happen
my
in a
case,
bathroom.
I've had some action in the closet, so I'm just saying. And we know how that ended. So I'm just,
Well, next time you come to Chicago, I'd love to show you my closet.
all
Yeah,
right, there you go. So the Sarah Silverman program, Cedric the Entertainment Presents, Reno 911, Bold and the Beautiful, ABCs to Tell the Truth. Um, when did you actually find your niche? When did you say, okay, I've experienced putting myself out on this platform. I feel comfortable doing this. I don't feel comfortable doing that, but I actually found that I got more out of that by taking myself out of the comfort zone. So, when did you actually discover you? Because I know actors and actresses always talk about this. They always say, well, Sarah, I initially started off thinking that I could be funny, but then I actually ended up finding out that I love doing murder mystery movies. In fact, I have an actress that was in the Vampire Diaries that is coming on the show, and one of her favorites is murder mystery. So for you, what is it for you? Would you say?
well, that's a very interesting question because I'd love to say like comedy. As soon as I started doing comedy and learning comedy, studying improv in Chicago, you're like, yeah, this is for me, and it's pretty much turned out that way. So that is my niche, I guess. But a lot of times, I think it's thrust upon us because had I spent more time on The Bold and the Beautiful, which is a soap opera, no room
Mm-hmm.
really there for comedic acting at all. I mean, so I would have become maybe a serious actor, and it would have been through no fault of my own. It would have just been like, well, you're on a
Mm-hmm.
show, you're on a soap opera. Paul's a very serious dramatic actor who happens to have studied improv, and vice versa, because a lot of these great comedians went from the world of say stand up. I think of people like Robin Williams or Tom Hanks or people that were started out as very funny people doing comedy and then ended up winning Oscars for roles in dramas. Became very
Absolutely.
amazing dramatic actors, especially like Tom Hanks in what was that war movie that he did, or any of his serious
Oh, Saving
roles.
Private Ryan.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Saving Private Ryan.
yeah, and he was started out as a stand-up comedian, as far as I know. Same with Robin Williams. Now he's doing roles like Goodwill Hunting or whatnot. You're like, oh my
Well,
god,
we all remember, Splash, for example. You remember the movie Splash, you
of
know?
course.
So I am a movie buff, Paul. When it comes to TV series, I absolutely hardly have no time in my life, but movies, I'm on it. So do you see yourself doing future projects with some interesting people? Because I got to ask about what you have upcoming.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of it is either stuff that I'm involved in, like behind the scenes, like producing. I'm working on an improvised game show, which I think has legs, and everyone I've showed it to really likes it. Um, and again, it's kind of like not up to me. If I get cast in a TV show and to start doing more TV, well, then I'm a TV actor. If I just did a film. Uh, no, it wasn't a short, was it? A film called Sunny Yard, which has been winning awards on the festival circuit, and I feel that I should have been talking more about it because I didn't realize what what a great job we did, and sometimes it's
Hmm.
hard to heap praise upon ourselves, but it obviously was a team effort,
Sure.
and it's won a variety of film festivals and it's probably going to get released. And then it's like, oh well, Paul's a film actor. If I'm doing that, but yeah, I'd love to do some projects, and especially if I can ever bring in people that I did come up with, say in Chicago, or they're in Chicago now. Because
Hmm.
right now I'm back in Chicago, and I've kind of gone back into the improv scene just to visit. But the improv troupe slash sketch troupe that I put together 30 some years ago is still around, which is insane because most improv groups, they break up after 3 months or 6 months, or definitely after your show's done. That's kind of it for that group. Rarely does a group stay together like Upright Citizens Brigade or Stir Friday Night, which was the Asian group, or, Barrio Speedwagon, which is our group in Los Angeles, but in Chicago it's called Salsation. So shout out to them. Maybe if I were to do something, I would look to them first and see if they're interested in participating. But I would, a lot of it is just working with people that that you love, that that they'll show up and they're hilarious and they make you laugh and they make work just go by a lot easier. So my plan is to
Well,
work on people's projects and produce stuff myself.
that's awesome. Yeah, what I was going to ask you, so there's a lot of us, right? So I don't claim to be a comedian. I mean, I got my natural humor. And you teach improv and improv the yes and. So for a lot of us, right, that are not properly trained like yourself, or, we don't step out there and go, oh, we know everything. What is the difference between a stand-up comedic act and improv? Because I think for a lot of people, when they hear that word improv, they don't really understand the underlying tone of it.
Sure. Yeah, and that's a great question. The difference really between stand up and improv comedy is stand up is like a band. A one person band, albeit usually sometimes it's two people, but really stand up is a one person endeavor, and it's really about memorizing. I know that a lot of comedians now are doing crowd work, which is nice, and that shows improv skills because you're improvising. You don't know what's going to be said next, but stand up really is, presentational, one person on stage having memorized their routine and trimmed it down, eliminate all the fat, and, concise, and almost every word counts. So just like a band that sings songs, you'll have favorite bits that people enjoy. You can always bring those back. But I think with a comedian, you have to always be developing new material where you might finish super strong because the object is to finish super strong, tying maybe everything together. Not so much like an improv, but tying things together, end of the show. Now, a lot of comedians will then take the strongest part that they had of a show, and begin a new hour, and they begin with the ending becomes the beginning of something new, which I think ensures that you're just making stronger and stronger choices, stronger and stronger material. Now, improv, or at least like Chicago style long form improv, that is more that's for me, that's more theatrical. It's more performing in the theater. You're probably not going to deal with hecklers. Improv shows can be fun and kind of go off the rails if it's like short form improv, but long form improv is more for for creating sketch, I think, also. And this is kind of controversial because it's like two schools of thought. Let's see, with improv, like from the Improv Olympic, or IO as it's called now, because they're not supposed to use the Olympic name. That's a whole other story. With IO, they thought that improv was in and of itself the end product. So you could improvise in front of an audience, and audiences would pay to see that. And they do, but a lot of times it's just other improv students watching you improvise. Now, Second City was like, well, we take those improv skills and help build sketches, create sketches that for sure will work. So, and that's what I use. I use improv as a tool. Now, I can improvise and I
Mm-hmm.
love improvising. And the nice
Mm-hmm.
thing is, if you meet somebody, even like maybe even at an audition, if you meet someone and they're like, "We'd like you guys to improvise," I just have to look at them and go like, "Did you study improv?" And if they say yes, then I know I'm in good hands. They know they're in good hands. If they say no, then it's okay. It might be more work for me, but we'll get through it. But if I know that you've been trained, and not necessarily in Chicago, because they do think that we're a little bit more elitist in Chicago, and our friend Hill Kane, kind of pointed that out during Podfest by kind of slamming on me for always bringing up the fact that I'm, a Chicago trained improviser, which I am very proud of. But a lot of people that are training people in improv, they're people they learned from were Chicago trained. So I think that it all goes back to Chicago. And if you have the chance, train there. But so improv is either its own art form, which is great, a finished show, or you can use it as a tool to create sketches. But that's what shows like Matt TV did. That's what Saturday Night Live does. I'll bet all those writers that are on that show have some kind of improv training because they're using the tools and skills of improv, especially like Yes to create hilarious sketches that will work consistently.
So when you talk about working with improv, and then you were, you know, doing shows, you're an author, this, that, the other thing. What inspired you to do the whole liquor line, the cigar line? Because I mean, I was reading up on some of the things that you've done, and even like the big game by Poker Stars. So is that just kind of an infatuation of fun that you had, hobbies that kind of brought you to some of these things, or was it just like, hey, let's try this out?
Well, I mean, I like the way you put it. So I'd have to agree with that. I do have an infatuation with fun. I never looked at it that way, but that might have to be. I might have to use that for a show or for my autobiography. Paul Vato, infatuated with fun. Uh, I mean, if I'm going to do something, it better be enjoyable. Especially the older I get, it better be fun. It better be enjoyable. And all those businesses that
You're
you mentioned.
29, Paul, 29.
That's well, yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm almost on the other side of 30. So I mean, I still have a long life ahead of me.
That's right. That's right. So
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 I do have a
cigar line is
Peloton.
called what? What's your what's your cigar line called? If people want to
Vato.
find it, they want to hang out, they
Mhm.
want to have a Vato. All right, Vato cigars.
Vato
And so
cigars. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, Vato Cigars, and the rum is more a company that I'm involved with their distribution company from Aurora, Illinois. Wayne's shout out to Wayne's World, and that's called Parse Rum. It's a Colombian rum that drinks more like a bourbon because it's finished in bourbon barrels. Of course, I could talk for hours upon that, but going back to the cigars, Vato Cigars is what I had in a couple stores in downtown Vegas, old Vegas. That was a great run, 12 plus years. And but I still have the company, Vato Cigars. So if anyone's looking for cigars, mild, medium, bold, you can either go to vatocigars.com or just go to, really, if you go to paulvato.com, that should take you to all of my things that I'm doing. I have a site that I'm working on just called Vato Events, where I put up events really to promote myself, but also friends that are doing events. I like to put up their events on vatoevents.com. Again, paulvato.com really is the hub. And from there, you can find everything else, including I have a creator coin as well. That's another business called the Vato coin. So vatocoin.com, you can go there and get all this wonderful information if you want to support me instead of, oh, let me set up a Patreon where you can spend $6. What? Buy $6 worth of Vato coin, and who knows, maybe one day it'll be worth hundreds of dollars. But or buy hundreds and then it'll be worth thousands. I don't know. Um, but yeah, any business has to be fun. It has to make sense. And a lot of them are just opportunities that I've remained open to or said yes and to, so that's the mentality and mindset of an improviser is yes and that's what my talk was at Podfest, which was the power of improv, using yes and to expand collaboration, uh, creativity, things like that. So, yeah, by staying open and saying yes and to business opportunities, it's taken me, all over the country for sure. Maybe all over the world. I've done business overseas as well, or in other countries. So yeah, Vital Cigars came with a partnership with Davidoff Cigars, where they made a lot of our Las Vegas blend, which are mild but very flavorful cigars. If you're in the world of cigars, that would mean a lot. Um, but yeah, Vato cigars. It's still a passion of mine. I don't get a chance to smoke as much because if I flip the camera around, you'll see how snowy it is outside and cold. It was -9, but it felt like
Oh no.
-20. So I wish I was back in Florida with you guys.
I bet. I bet. Yeah. And for a lot of people that don't know what Podfest is where a bunch of podcasters from all over the United States, from outside the United States, from Europe, UK, they come, they meet people. Some people are funny, they're comedic, other people are motivational speakers and authors, and some people aren't even a part of a podcast yet. Some people are just kind of trying it out or they want to meet people. So, for a lot of people that are just kind of starting out and they're not sure who they are, what they want to do, what is your best advice to people about the way they should be kind of taking on some kind of purpose in life? What would you say to that?
Well, it's whatever, speaks to you. And that's the beauty of podcasting. I think a lot of people sometimes begin to think that, like, well, there's just already so many podcasts out there. But, no one is you. You are unique. And ours are really in the world of comedy, I would imagine. So, me and my comedy partner, Stephen Kimbrough, whom you know, he and I helped we co created the comedy track for Podfest. So when we met last year, and we did that open mic that you were a part of, that was all part of the comedy track. And thank you for doing it,
Yeah,
last
yeah,
year. So
yeah. Last year, yes,
last
it
year,
was not bad.
it wasn't bad at
And
all. You
and
found
that
something that you're good at.
it was amazing. I was walking on cloud 9, 10, 11, 12. So the other thing that I wanted to discuss too, which we were kind of touching on a little bit earlier, is the travels that you've done. So you've met all these people, you've traveled, you dabbled with this and that. What are some of the best travels that you've done on a whim? Because I know a lot of people, they like to plan their life out. And I keep telling people, sometimes the best things that you come across in life are the things you never planned for. So, what are some instances, not just in your career, but personally, that have kind of opened doors for you?
Sure. Well, but there was some planning involved. The only ones that were spur of the moment would probably be visiting Mexico or Tijuana from Los Angeles because it was so close. 2.5 hours away, and you're in a different country. So those were always like almost last minute, unplanned. But anything that I really enjoyed took some planning, and because also you want to get tickets far enough ahead of time that they come at a good price. But that would be Europe or Hawaii. Love Hawaii. My ex and I used to travel one year to Hawaii where we had our honeymoon, and then
Mm-hmm.
Europe for enjoyment. So Paris, Spain, and I say Paris because we mostly spent the month there in Paris. Maybe went to Versailles, but really exploring Paris. And I'd love to visit the rest of the country. I know that France isn't just Paris, so I'd love to visit Alsace and some of the other Provence. I'd love to visit some of the other regions of France. Spain, this last time that we went was Barcelona and then Madrid and then Andalusia. Sorry, Andalusia.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Granada, Seville, fell in love with Seville again. Not as hard as I did back in the '90s when I was, two. No, I'm kidding. Because I'm only 29. And
That's right.
but yes, so Seville always has a place in my heart. In Spanish, they say "conocer Sevilla es conocer la maravilla," and it rhymes. To know Seville is to know something marvelous, and it works in Spanish. But it's. I'd always said if I was going to relocate to Europe, I would probably end up in Seville. Uh, so those trips take a little bit of planning, but I'm not the type of person that has like an itinerary. I'm going to go somewhere and really enjoy the place and try to spend as much time as I can. I'm notorious for if I go on vacation somewhere, I'm going to probably spend a month there. Just like in Cuba, I've been to Cuba a couple times. That was probably the most exotic location and
Mm-hmm.
fulfilling, both because it is the birthplace of really cigars in the New World, and it kind of toes the line between the old world and the new world, and that's where the cigar industry started. So it's wonderful to then be able to explore that both for that, but also just the rich history of Cuba and its wonderful people. And it's never the people; it's the governments. What I'm
Have you ever thought about doing a documentary or a collaboration, in one of those places that you really enjoy? Because getting to my point, it really is kind of funny. Some people are gravitated towards certain places for no reason, and
Mhm.
then they end up doing or creating something really fun and really interesting. So, any documentaries or autobiography or anything like that in your future? Because I can kind of see that with you.
Yeah, I would love to. I was working on a concept called, I think I called it Cigar Stars. And if you go to my YouTube channel, Paul Vato, you can see like episode 1. And I recently revisited, uh, and I was kind of like, wow, I'm pretty good at this. Because sometimes you forget, you put something out, you forget about it, and then when I watch it, I was like, I would watch this as a show. So yes, I mean, I would love to do a travel show, but of course, as a one person show, it's a lot of work then, and the editing is what gets me. That's what's tough for when I do my podcast. But I would love
I
to do a
agree.
travel show, but maybe you've inspired me, because just saying that I go somewhere and I spend a month, maybe that's what I do. I go and I do a deep
I
dive.
honestly can see you doing that and can see you meeting interesting people and actually having them on camera with you and documenting not just travel, but
Mhm.
how you can actually expand what you're doing on your own podcast show, with your cigar line, et cetera, et cetera. Because I know
Mhm.
I'm actually kind of playing around with the tequila line idea. Tequila makes your clothes fall off, so hold on, Paul. Uh,
we should
we
we
were
should
ta-
drink.
we were talking about doing this yoga pants contest in Venice Beach, California with Kimbrough. And, I had mentioned, I think this is a hilarious idea. Celebrity volleyball in Venice Beach, yoga pants, food trucks, liquor, cigars. So every time they score, shot of liquor, a little cigar, hi to the camera, and try to finish the game. At the end of the day, that would just be too funny. And no, I'm not going to play volleyball because I'm too short. So I don't think I don't think anything would be made to hit over the net with me because I'm like 4'11" on a good day. So um, Paul, I just want to close with a couple of ideas here. What do you see for PodFest coming up that you want people to know about for 2027? And also, too, what would you like people to know, where to find you again, and how to kind of look into some of the work you've done if they want to collaborate with you?
Wonderful, amazing. Yeah. Well, again, you just go to paulvato.com or find me on all social media at Paul Vato, Instagram.com/Paul Vato, Facebook, Paul Vato, everything, X, I'm on X, Paul Vato. So that's kind of pretty much my brand there. Next time we can talk about the evolution and the history of Vato as my brand. Um, yeah, find me there. I'm so excited. I know it's still a year away, but before we know it, we'll be doing this interview again a week after Podfest next year. If you'll have me back, but Podfest
Of course.
2027 is going to be even more amazing. There's a few things I can't talk about yet that we've already brought up with the ownership, and we're going to be doing some very exciting things that will bring more people from the world of podcasting into certain elements of the comedy track. But after now doing the comedy track for 2 years, it got easier this year. I mean, it was by no means easy, but it got easier because we'd already done all the work in 2024, debuted in 2025, and then now in 2026. It was pretty flawless. The two Friday and Saturday comedy tracks. The sessions were amazing. The workshops were amazing. The panels were sold out and amazing. My probably the best part though was my talk. I'm just kidding. It was an integral part, but the best part was just how supportive everyone was, and especially the panels, the entertainment panel and the comedy panel, that people then got to ask questions about and have
Yeah,
their
that was
questions
excellent.
answered. So
That was
yeah, I'm just
excellent.
looking forward to 2027, and not to mention then I get to see all the wonderful people that I love and that I enjoy working with, you included. So you've come a long way, I think, in the world of podcasting, and thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well, thank you, Paul. Have a wonderful day.